Today, we're going to be taking a look at the 100, which is the first exercise in the original classic mat work sequence. This is considered to be a warm-up exercise in the sequence, but it can be quite challenging and requires and builds both core strength and core stamina. Today, we're going to look at the full exercise first, as well as some modifications and core drills that you can do to build up to this exercise. If you're new to my channel, my name is Meredith, and I'm certified in Classical Pilates as well as Barre. And I'm so excited to have you with me in my studio virtually today to talk about the 100. Begin in a supine position on the back. The body is lined in a neutral position with arms alongside the body, palms facing down to the mat. We're going to lift the legs here and float them up into tabletop. We'll inhale to prepare, and on the exhalation, tuck the chin towards the chest and lift head, neck, and shoulders, raising the upper body off the mat and resting on the tips of your shoulder blades. The gaze is forward towards the legs. Extend the legs out straight to a 45-degree angle. Legs should be zipped together, toes pointed. Arms are parallel to the floor and floating just above the hips. You'll inhale as you pump the arms up and down for 5 and exhale for 5 pumps. You're going to take 10 complete breaths here, one breath being inhaling for 5 and exhaling for 5. This happens 10 times and equals 100 pumps of the arms, and thus the name of the exercise. Lifting half your body off the mat takes strength, and holding it there builds stamina. The 100 awakens the circulatory system to get the blood flowing and warm up the body. That's usually why it's done at the beginning of your mat flow sequence. It also builds awareness and teaches breath control, as the flow of the breath is essential to the pacing of this exercise. This builds and requires concentration and focus. Aside from the movement of your arms, this is an isometric exercise. While you're strengthening the core muscles, you're also strengthening the hip flexors and quadriceps if you're in this straight leg version. About this exercise, Joseph Pilates said this: "At first, you probably won't be able to carry out instructions as illustrated in the poses. Perhaps you're not going to be able to do 10 complete full breaths and you'll have to do less and work up to it, or perhaps you'll need to build core strength in order to hold this pose and carry out the exercise." Start with some exercises to build core strength and keep the neutral pelvis stable. So when we're in neutral pelvis, we want the pubic bone and the hip bones to be in line, holding nice, stable, and steady. So right here we've got our feet on the floor. We're going to exhale as we float one knee up into tabletop, and inhale as it comes down slowly towards the mat. Exhale, floating up. Inhale, coming down, trying to maintain the same length between the inhale and the exhale. Exhale on that exertion, which is to lift up. We don't want the pelvis to sway here. We want it to keep perfectly stable and steady. There's also a little space behind the low back when we've got a neutral pelvis, and we want to maintain this. We don't want to arch or rock the pelvis so that we lose that space and that the low back presses into the mat. We want to maintain the space and keep it nice and level. Let's challenge our core and our stability more now. We'll float up one leg at a time, and then the other comes to meet it. Then first leg lowers down, and the second leg lowers on an exhale. So we'll inhale to prepare. Exhale, float up that leg. Inhale to prepare, and exhale, float the second. Now you'll notice me tracing my toe in and then lifting off. Lifting that second foot off is the most challenging, and it will help you if you draw the toe in a little closer to the body and then lift off. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, float the first leg. Inhale. Exhale, float the second. As we float the second, it becomes much more challenging to maintain that neutral, steady pelvis. We don't want the pelvis coming out of neutral or crushing that space in the low back. Again, exhale, lifting up. Inhale, prepare. and exhale, float that leg up. We're not using the muscles to just pick the leg up. We're drawing in with the abdominals. Exhale as we come down. Inhale to prepare, and exhale coming down. Getting that second leg up off the mat and the first leg down to the mat is the most challenging. Work on lifting the upper body and working the top of those abdominals. So we want to be pulling in from right underneath the sports bra. That's where we're lifting ourselves up from. So starting with our hands directly above our shoulders, we'll inhale to prepare. And on the exhale, lift head, neck, and shoulders. Chin is tucked in, gaze forward towards the legs. Arms coming straight out, hovering over top of the hips with the palms down, just as we will in this exercise. So without pumping the arms or moving the legs, we're simply practicing this lift. It's going to just feel like a chest lift. And lower back down. So breathing pattern for this, as our preparation, we'll inhale. On that exertion of lifting up, we'll exhale, coming up. We'll inhale, holding here at the top, and exhale as we roll back down. These are some great drills and exercises to build up pelvic stability and core strength. Now we're going to progress into the 100 exercise, but we're going to keep our feet on the ground, a very beginner version. So the knees pointed up to the ceiling, feet on the ground. We're going to lift the head, neck, and shoulders, arms coming straight out, and we're going to begin that series of pumping. Inhaling for 5 and exhaling for 5. We're keeping that pelvis nice and stable, so we don't want to tilt the pubic bone forward. We want the pubic bone to be in line with the 2 hip bones on that same plane. So you could rest a tray across your hips and it would be nice and stable. As we're inhaling for 5 and exhaling for 5, keep your gaze to your belly. Make sure that it's not pooching out, but on that exhale especially, the navel is drawing in and we're keeping it engaged. The next progression that we'll move to here is to keep 1 foot down and float 1 foot up into tabletop. We'll inhale for 5 and exhale for 5, keeping that pelvis nice and steady. Now we're challenging ourselves more. We're challenging the abdominal muscles by keeping that leg up. We're going to switch halfway through. We don't just want to stay on one leg. So maybe take a set of 10 or 2 sets of 10 and then switch, bring the leg down and the other leg up. If you want to stop pulsing the arms and do a switch first and then continue on, that's perfectly fine. You'll see me here just continuing the pulse of the arms as I switch out the legs. If that trips you up with counting, then simply bring one leg down, take a little pause, hovering the arms, and then begin pulsing again when you've switched legs to the other side. Make sure as you are lifting and lowering the legs that the pelvis stays absolutely still. You are rooted to the mat and you're just taking a little lower and a floating up of the other leg. Our next natural progression would be to float both the legs up into tabletop, maintaining that neutral pelvis, and then we'll lift head, neck, and shoulders. You can lift this way, or I'll show an alternative, bringing it up with the arms above the shoulders and lifting here. That may help you to maintain that curve and sit up nicely on the shoulder blades and find that arm position. Same thing here, inhaling for 5 and exhaling for 5. We do have a staccato pulsing movement of the arms, but we want to keep the breath as smooth as possible here. So rather than inhaling and exhaling as if you're in labor, we wanted a smooth exhale. By the way, I don't expect that you're watching this video and doing this all progressively in a row. Look at it, feel things out, find the position that's comfortable for you, and then go into the exercise. So hopefully you're just watching here. Next progression is to take our legs up to 90 degrees. So the feet are straight up out of the hips, as straight as possible here. If you do need to bend through your knees a little bit, bring the knees forward so that the heels are tracking over top of the hips and you're not extending them out. Keep that pelvis nice and steady. When you have them straight up, it makes it easier for you to stabilize. You'll notice here that extending the legs straight is definitely more challenging and more work on the abdominals than keeping them in a tabletop position. So this will be the progression of your legs from easiest to hardest in the 100, starting at tabletop, knees bent, then up to 90 degrees, and finally out to 45 degrees. Make sure when you take your legs out to 45 degrees that you don't go too low and that your pelvis stays in line with the hips and doesn't tip forward, creating more space in the low back. A lot of people struggle with their neck support. We really want to lift from the abdominals to support the neck and alleviate any tension in the neck. However, it does demand a lot on the neck. So I'm showing you a modification that you can do in any leg position, and that's to keep one hand elbow far out to the side behind the neck for support without tugging the neck forward, just supporting and making sure, just like when we did with a single leg up, that we're switching every set or so, just keeping it switching back and forth so that you're stable on both sides. And finally, if it becomes too much for you to have your head up, you can simply lower down head, neck, and shoulders and maintain the same position through your legs and continue pumping anytime that you need to. You can build up the strength of the neck. Next, I'm going to show you some no-nos, things we want to avoid in this exercise. Something that I see very commonly is holding the breath. People start to tense up their face and they're not breathing through it, and the breath is absolutely essential to this exercise. We want to inhale for 5, letting the rib cage expand, and exhale, drawing that navel in towards the spine. It's all about the coordination of the breath as we're pulsing our arms and sustaining with the abdominals. Another issue that happens often, especially when taking the legs out towards 45 degrees, is to allowing the back to arch and losing neutral. So the pubic bone tilts forward with your legs and you get a big gap in the low back, and we could possibly injure the back there. See how the pubic bone is tilting forward and you've got this big arch? We want to keep it in, so we don't want to move the body as the legs move. We want to keep that neutral position and only take those legs out as far as we can maintain that. And if you start to feel that arch coming or the neutral pelvis being lost and the pelvis tipping forward, bring the legs back up to 90 degrees. A third item to avoid is tension held in the shoulders and neck. First of all, we don't want our shoulders to be drawn in towards our ears. We want to slide them down and away. Can you see all the tension in my upper body? I want to slide those shoulders away. Reach the fingertips long. Draw them down away from the ears. Reach those fingertips, all the energy coming from your fingertips, across the room, and maintain this. You can have your arms in the correct position and still be holding lots of tension in the neck. A good way to tell if you're super tense in the neck is if you're taking your gaze straight up. We want to imagine that we've got a ripe piece of fruit underneath the chin tucked in, gaze forward, lifting right underneath the sports bra there, so that we're using our abdominals to hold up. And while you're doing this exercise, you can shake your neck out to try to get rid of tension. If tension becomes too much, simply lower down the upper body and continue with the exercise. Following this exercise, you may find it necessary to roll the chin from side to side and stretch that neck out. Fourth item to avoid is going to look pretty obvious here. Too large arm motion. Can you see as I'm pumping my arms super big how my body is just wobbling around back and forth? We want it to be nice and tight. Keep that body stable, pelvis stable, balancing on the shoulder blades. Imagine here, in fact, that your shoulder blades are balancing and resting on eggs. You don't want them moving like crazy, so you're going to splat those eggs. We just want to keep them nice and balanced and hovered there, small motions through the arms. And finally, sometimes people push their belly out on the exhale. So exhaling, we want to draw the navel into the spine rather than fill up. Can you see my belly expanding with air here? Filling up. That's not the way that we want to breathe in Pilates. On the exhale, we want to draw the navel in. We need to be drawing those abdominals in order to support the pelvis and the spine. And this exercise, we never want to be pushing the belly out. So keep that neck lifted and keep your gaze to your pelvis. Make sure it's staying stable and neutral, and also keeping that belly drawing in the entire time. Finally, I'm going to give you a few notes on special audiences for this exercise before I invite you to come and do the 100 with me in whatever position is comfortable for you. So individuals with back problems may have issues raising the legs off the ground. So you can use a modification to keep the feet on the floor or lift one leg at a time if perhaps that affected side of your back makes it too challenging for you to have your legs floated off the floor in any position. Also, the 100 is not an appropriate exercise for a woman that's pregnant beyond the first trimester. Once we get into the second and third trimesters, we don't want to remain in a supine position on the back for this extended period of time. You could, however, do a variation of this exercise propped up on 2 pillows, but we definitely don't want you to be laying flat on your back if you're in the second trimester or beyond in your pregnancy. So join me now on the mat and I will talk us through the 100 together. Rolling down flat on your back in a supine position, float those arms up to the sky, palms facing down. We're going to reach one knee up and then the other. Choose an appropriate position for your legs here. If they're going to be lifted off the mat, go ahead and float one up at a time with me, stabilizing through that pelvis. Inhale to prepare and exhale, lifting the head, neck, and shoulders. Take position. If you're going to extend the legs either to 90 degrees or 45 degrees, do so now. Inhaling for 5. And exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. More than halfway there right now. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. And relax the head, neck, and shoulders down. Draw the knees in. And as you're pulling them in, just rock from side to side for a little low back massage. You've done excellent. And go ahead and take the neck from side to side. You may be feeling a little bit fatigued through the neck muscles. That's perfectly normal, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Good. Inhale as you draw the neck center, and exhale, rotate it out, bringing the chin parallel to the shoulder. Inhale, bringing it back up, center towards the sky, and exhale towards the other side. Inhale, lifting. Great job. All right, guys, that is the 100. Thank you so much for joining me here today at Benniebarre Pilates. Be sure to like this video and hit the subscribe button if you would like to see more videos just like this. Have an exercise or topic that you'd like to see addressed? Please contact me or comment below.